J'ai quand même la chance de faire un métier dans lequel je suis plongé dans des rêves, dans des choses comme ça. Alors MacLeod, il rentre complètement dans cette lignée. D'abord parce que l'immortalité n'existe pas. Ensuite parce que c'est un héros d'action, mais que c'est d'abord un héros romantique. C'est-à-dire c'est quelqu'un qui combat la souffrance que représente l'immortalité, quelqu'un qui a vécu 450 ans, qui a vu tous les gens qu'il aimait mourir autour de lui, qui lui ne se voit pas vraiment vieillir et qui doit continuer à combattre une forme de mal pour essayer d'assurer la sécurité du monde. Donc tout ça, c'est très beau, très gros, c'est plus large que la vie. Donc ce sont des choses qui m'attirent, mais je pense que la première chose qui m'a vraiment attiré, c'est ce côté romantique du personnage. C'est-à-dire, quelles que soient les souffrances, il faut continuer à vivre. Bon, on m'a envoyé un scénario, j'ai lu le scénar, j'ai dit que je faisais le film. J'ai d'abord rencontré les producteurs, parce que Russell était encore en Australie. Et donc j'ai rencontré les producteurs à Londres, puis Russell a débarqué et ça a collé tout de suite parce que je pense que c'est le même genre d'univers, c'est le même genre d'imaginaire, c'est exactement la rencontre avec Luc Besson, ça peut pas foirer. On est dans le même monde, que ça soit de la bande dessinée, que ça soit les films qu'on aime et des choses comme ça. Bon, Russell, c'est la même chose dans un autre registre, parce qu'il est beaucoup plus, je dirais, noir dans son humour et dans son côté action. Mais quand j'avais vu ses vidéoclips, et je savais que ça allait coller, c'est une autre partie d'un univers que j'adore. Par rapport au travail de Russell, je dis que c'est toujours visuellement un des plus grands metteurs en scène du monde. Quand on voit Highlander 1, c'est pas un film qui a vieilli, c'est un film qui a passé 2, parfois 3 générations, et que je dirais, au niveau visuel, est encore en avance sur son temps. Donc visuellement, quand j'ai fait Résurrection avec lui, pour moi c'était une confirmation. C'est quelqu'un qui a un univers visuel qui est incroyable. C'est quelqu'un qui invente des mouvements. C'est quelqu'un qui cherche tout le temps. C'est probablement un des metteurs en scène les plus actifs avec Besson que j'ai vu sur un plateau. C'est-à-dire je n'ai jamais vu Russell assis sur une chaise dans les 3 films que j'ai fait avec lui. Il est tout le temps en train de marcher de long en large, il fume cigarette sur cigarette, il est en train de regarder ce qu'il pourrait faire, ce qu'il pourrait inventer, comment il pourrait mettre la caméra dans son oreille et comment il pourrait le faire, etc., etc. C'est tout le temps quelqu'un qui travaille comme ça sur une hyper énergie, ce qui fait que cette énergie-là est communicative sur un plateau et que tout le monde a envie de bouger et de faire quelque chose. L'ouverture du film, c'est-à-dire sur le match de catch, sur le wrestling, d'abord on utilisait un tout nouveau processus de caméra qui s'appelait Skycam, qui sont liés par des câbles et qui donnent l'impression qu'il y a un hélicoptère dans la pièce. Et à l'époque, c'était un objet extrêmement cher, entièrement contrôlé par ordinateur, par une console par terre. Et on voyait cette caméra qui se baladait dans tous les sens. Donc la manière de filmer, et moi je me rendais pas compte de ça quand je voyais la scène, mais quand on voit la scène au début, en plus Russell a mis un tout petit bruit vraiment en fond d'hélicoptère, donc on a l'impression qu'il y a un hélicoptère dans cette pièce, et ça donne un mouvement assez incroyable. Sur tous les Highlanders qu'on a pu faire, y compris le dernier qui n'est pas encore sorti, ça demande entre 10 et 15 semaines de travail, de répétition, de chorégraphie, parce qu'il faut que tous les mouvements deviennent automatiques. D'abord parce que c'est dangereux. Surtout que dans les combats, moi je porte pas de lunettes et que je vois pas grand chose. Donc pour que mon personnage, mon partenaire se sente à l'aise en se disant ce mec-là va me taper dessus avec une épée en métal parce qu'il voit rien, on travaille avec des épées en bois, des épées en plastique, et puis on travaille par section jusqu'au moment où le combat est tellement mémorisé. C'est un peu comme des phrases, c'est comme du texte. C'est-à-dire que si on mémorise pas ces phrases, il y a un moment donné où ça va pas être naturel. Bon, ben c'est la même chose dans un combat, mais ça demande un travail entre 2 mois et demi et 3 mois et demi, suivant les combats qu'il peut y avoir dans le film. Ce qui m'avait le plus amusé, c'était pendant la grosse bataille en Écosse. Le matin, tout se passait très bien. On avait, je sais pas, il y avait 800 ou 1000 personnes. Tous avec des épées, des vraies épées, des trucs en métal, des boucliers, des trucs, etc. Alors le matin, tout allait bien. Et dès qu'on revenait l'après-midi, parce qu'en plus il faisait 4 degrés avec une espèce de pluie fine qui transperçait tous les vêtements, donc c'était pas des conditions très agréables. Et l'après-midi, on entendait régulièrement après couper docteur, nurse, infirmière, docteur. Et c'était parce que les mecs avaient tellement bu à déjeuner, les Écossais, du whisky, du champagne, du vin, etc., qui se foutaient vraiment sur la gueule avec les épées en métal. Donc évidemment, il y avait 12 points de suture d'un côté, 3 points de l'autre, et ça c'était systématique. Toute la semaine où on a tourné, le matin, c'était parfait, et l'après-midi, c'était docteur, infirmière, et tous les mecs étaient couverts de sang. On leur disait, c'est du cinéma. Ouais, non, mais ça va, on s'amuse bien. Ils étaient tout contents. Donc ça, c'était un des trucs qui m'avait, je m'étais dit, au moins ils y vont. Et d'ailleurs, quand on regarde le film, ça se voit qu'ils y vont. Je veux dire, ils se marchent dessus, il y a des mecs qui ont la tête dans l'eau, qui se font piétiner. C'est-à-dire qu'ils voient plus rien. Ils sont complètement beurrés, ils voient plus rien. La seule chose dont je me souviens avec la rencontre avec Sean Connery qui m'avait fait beaucoup rigoler, c'est que quand on a débarqué en Écosse, les habitants du village dans lequel on tournait disaient « Regarde, il y a James Bond avec Tarzan ». Et ça me faisait beaucoup rire parce que c'est là où il faut garder les pieds sur terre. Sean Connery, quelle que soit la dimension d'acteur qu'il est, et c'est un acteur génialissime parce qu'il est d'un naturel incroyable, c'est d'abord dans la mentalité publique, c'est James Bond. Au même titre que moi, on ne pourra jamais m'enlever ni Tarzan, ni Highlander. Quand j'ai rencontré Sean Connery, j'ai rencontré un mec bien, un mec naturel, un mec normal. Et pas quelqu'un qui disait « Attendez, c'est marqué Sean Connery là, donc soyez polis, soyez gentils, restez à l'écart ». C'était quelqu'un d'humain. Et ça a été la même chose pour tous les grands, entre guillemets, que ce soit Gianni, Deneuve, Noiret, tous les gens avec qui j'ai pu tourner, Richard Anconina, et j'en oublie certainement, mais les bons sont toujours simples et naturels, parce qu'ils n'ont pas besoin de plus. Et puis sinon, cette phrase qui est maintenant devenue plus ou moins légendaire, il ne peut en rester qu'un, there can be only one. Et moi je me souviens au même titre que quand j'ai tourné Greystoke, je disais à Hugh Hudson, le metteur en scène, je lui disais, la chose qui va le plus marquer dans le film, ça sera ces ouh, 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 ouh. Et c'est exactement ce qui s'est passé. C'est-à-dire que tous les gens sortaient du cinéma en faisant ouh, 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 etc. Parce que c'était... Et pour moi, j'ai dit dans Highlander, ça sera there can be only one. Si je pouvais être immortel, le problème, c'est oui, j'aimerais bien essayer, mais seulement pendant un moment. Donc c'est en fin de compte ce que je fais dans la vie, quoi. Et je vais essayer pendant 70, 80 ans d'être immortel, entre guillemets. De vivre 450 ou 500 ans, ça m'aurait amusé pour l'unique fait de pouvoir traverser les âges, j'aurais peut-être pu rencontrer Napoléon, Louis XIV, Wellington, des mecs de 1500 au milieu de l'Écosse, en Allemagne, en Russie. J'aurais pu voir le monde changer, ou ne pas changer. Ça m'aurait amusé. Maintenant, de vivre 450 ans et de voir tous les gens qu'on aime mourir, il faut un sacré degré de positivisme et d'optimisme que j'ai aujourd'hui, mais est-ce que je peux le garder pendant 500 ans? J'en sais rien. Est-ce que la force de McCloud, c'est que rien ne peut le détruire. La seule chose, parce qu'il peut marcher comme un zombie dans la vie, s'il est mort à l'intérieur, il est plus mort que s'il était mort physiquement. Et sa force, c'est qu'il continue à vivre avec la même sorte de feu. Et ça, moi, je suis admiratif de ça, mais bon, c'est un personnage. Mais si je devais être immortel, j'aimerais avoir cette puissance.
There can be only one. I am Conor MacLeod of the Clan MacLeod. I was born in 1518 in the village of Glenfinnan on the shores of Loch Shiel. And I am immortal.
I think it's a fantasy film that the idea of living forever is very attractive. In certain ways, and I think it's this fantasy of ideal love and ideal man, transcendent, and it's wrapped up in all this stuff that boys really like, this violence and romance. It's a commingling of these two things. It's like a Knight's Tale in a way, modern version. I got the part, I went and met Peter Davis, one of the producers of the movie, and that was the only person that I had met. I met him in an interview in New York. I was doing a play at the Manhattan Theater Club, a play called Digby, that had gotten really great notices, and this meeting was set up by my agent at the time at ICM and Mary Goldberg, and I went over to meet Peter and we talked about the script. It was incredibly violent. I thought it was the most grotesquely violent script I had read. As a matter of fact, I had a discussion with Peter about that, and he explained to me how they were going to do it. I mean, it sounded, you know, looking back on it now, it doesn't seem as violent as, I mean, it's bloody, but it's not certainly what films are like today. But it just seemed grotesque when I first read it. And we discussed the film. My agent and I decided to do the movie. Or they had originally offered the part, I think, to Brooke Adams. And then she fell out and they offered it to me, and I was very late in the coming together in the process. I think they had, everybody else was cast. So that's how I got the part. Brenda was one of the strongest, most independent characters I had been presented with playing. She was quite bright. Gee, I don't think I had played too many. I usually played women that were, you know, sidekicks to men. Even though she ends up being a sidekick to him, she was this forensic scientist way before there was even all those shows that are on TV about forensics. That's interesting.
Who's there?
She occupied this world of men. I don't think there was any other women in the script at the station house. They were all men. So yeah, she was very strong. And she was, my goodness, it was 20 years ago, so she was very young. And a lot of women are not, I mean, you see older women with that kind of backbone, but you don't see a lot of younger women with that kind of backbone.
I'd like some advice.
Are you the kind of woman who takes advice?
You had to be an extraordinary woman for this immortal to fall in love with you, so I was playing an extraordinary woman. Christophe was very charming, and he was enigmatic and charming. He had a French accent, and that he, you know, that I found it very charming and sexy. That's what you know, he was a French man is a very appealing man, usually to an American woman. He had come from so many different places, so it was okay if he had a French accent and roamed the highlands. That was all right. I remember going to Daly's the first time and thinking that he had done, I was across the camera from him, and he had done very, very simple things that I had seen him in Tarzan, and this was 180 degrees from Tarzan, where he was this primitive character who didn't understand his world. Here was a character who had great understanding about the world that he was in. And he was so minimalist in the stuff that he did. I wasn't really sure of how it was going to come across, whether it was going to evoke that sense of a superior intelligence. And when I went to the dailies, I was so surprised because, first of all, he has this incredible facial physiognomy where he has his brow, it's like that Brando brow, the big brow with the deep set eyes, so that when he would look up and the camera would go in, there would be this very dark, deep, piercing look. It was quite astonishing how you could be. I mean, in some ways it was a lesson for me because I think I was so used to working on the stage and I had done so many character roles before, and this really, even though she was a character that was very different from who I am, who I was, it was a simple person. It was a more stiller way of being on camera than I had been before, and learning that, which I don't think I was always incredibly successful at, but learning that was a good thing for me. I believe the first day of shooting we shot the scene where he comes over for dinner and he discovers that I am a forensic scientist and he feels like he's been tricked. And that scene actually we reshot.
You bastard. Where did you find this?
And I got to change the outfit that I was in. because they wanted me to be wearing something more glamorous. So that was the first kind of battle of wits between the two of us.
Wait a minute, Nash. I want some answers.
You want? Don't you ever think about anything except what you want?
It was hard to start with that scene, actually, because that was a kind of pivotal scene in their relationship. My first film was with Sidney Lumet, and Sidney Lumet does 2 takes. You work for about 2 weeks.
Trailers.
He
Visita
gets
mi
a
canal.
studio area, tapes out the whole, all the scenes. By the time you leave there, you know what lenses, he knows what lenses, I don't know what lenses, but he knows what lenses he's going to use and how he's going to shoot the whole thing. Russell Mulcahy shot a lot and was doing a lot of thinking on his feet. There was very, very little rehearsal. He was inspired at the moment, at the time. Something would happen and he would like it and he would want to take off from it, and he would talk to the DP and they would devise new ways of coming in and shooting something. I think it was really interesting. I learned to sustain and shape a performance, or more, I think, with Russell than I did with Sidney. And that's not to compare the two directors in kind of an adverse way, but it was just a different way of working, knowing that you had more of a chance to build a performance. Of course, we didn't have the rehearsal beforehand, so you kind of rehearsed in front of the camera. Clancy is one of the sweetest, dearest men you will ever meet in your entire life. So it actually was a great tribute to him and his acting, that he could play this really evil character. He was a hoot. He was fun to be with. It was fun to be in the car with him and just be driving all night. We did that in front of the, part of it was right in Manhattan, where the tunnel goes underneath Grand Central. We were driving in and out, and then we were on the Williamsburg Bridge, I believe, too. Clancy's a genius. He started doing New York, New York.
New York, New York. I want to wake.
Shut up.
In the city.
Shut up.
Sing along with that medicine.
Shut up.
It was great because he could be this evil character with a great sense of humor. Vicious, dark. The prototype of all those evil people probably that have been created since. I remember my throat kind of drying up at a certain point because I had to scream so long and loud. It was fun. It was fun. Being trapped, I think, in a car like that all night shooting with someone other than Clancy Brown would have been a nightmare. One of the things that sticks in my mind was getting hit in the head with the sword during the sword fighting scene on top of the Silver Cup factory. That was really scary. It was not a sharp-edged sword, but it was a lightweight metal, and it did rebound off of my head. So that was a pretty scary moment. Christoph and Clancy were fighting, and I think I got it. It was 3 o'clock in the morning. It was very, very late. I think it was just an accident. And we continued shooting, though. I mean, I wasn't bleeding or anything. I didn't, but... And I think when I was hanging up on top of the sign in the Silver Cup factory, that was a little bit scary. That was scary. There were quite a few moments that were scary, come to think of it. Now I'm recollecting them. I know that when we were in the studio in London and the whole thing was filled with water and I was climbing through the water and there were all these electrical signs and things, I was terrified that there would be a short and I would be electrocuted or something would go on. And the place was filled with smoke, and because Russell shot through a lot of oily haze. I think I would have been better off if I had done a lot of physical training. If I had been stronger, I would have been doing a lot better, but I had never done a film of this kind before. And I didn't realize how athletic one had to be in order to... I remember Christoph used to get up and run in the morning when he would have... So we're talking like incredibly early in the morning. He would be running before a call. One of the great things about shooting in London, which we didn't have, London and Scotland and Wales, which we didn't have when we came to America, when the crew came to America, was we would break at 4 for tea. And it was so civilized, and they would bring around tea and cookies and little cakes and sandwiches, and you would have this downtime of about 20 minutes that was just, everybody would kind of regroup and refocus, and then you'd go back to work. In an otherwise really hectic and very rough working situation. The very end of the film where they embrace and they kiss, that was shot several months after the film had been complete, my initial completing of the film. And I was flown back to Wales, where we shot the end of the film. I first saw the film at a big screening at Fox with my manager, and I was just overwhelmed to see myself up there. I don't know that, I think I had a vanity response, which was, whoa, I'm in this movie and I don't know if I like what I'm doing, and I don't know if I like how I look, and I don't know how I feel about it kind of response. One of those self-conscious actor responses. I was at the Beverly Hot Springs soaking in one of the tubs, and a woman from across the tub said to me, "Oh my God, you were in Highlander." And this was, 15, 20 years from when I had done it. It amazed me. I remember when the film first came out, it was not critically well received. But it started to develop this word of mouth and this cult thing that was going on in almost about 2 years. And I kind of forgot that film kind of came and went. And then my brother, who was in Boston, he was going to school in Boston, called me up one day and he said, "Roxanne, I've got to tell you, there are people outside on the streets. They're all dressed like these Highlander people that are, sword fighters, and they're waiting at night for a midnight show of Highlander that's playing. My roommate found out that you were the girl in Highlander and he wants to meet you." It was like, and this has happened quite a bit. I'll work on a film and somebody will come up and they'll say, "Highlander is my favorite movie of all time," and I've gotten MASH notes. It's really amazing. People that are devoted to this film are really devoted. It's like the scene that he described to me was like the Rocky Horror Show, the Saturday night shows. It was midnight, and people would all come and be dressed up and go and see it. And they would shout out the lines. They knew that they had seen the film 4 and 5 times. So it's a real cult.